So my name's Rohan Quine. I'm an author of literary fiction with a touch of magical realism and a dusting of horror, as well as an actor and a film producer. I grew up in South London, spent a couple of years in LA, and then a decade in New York, where I ran around excitably, saying a few well-chosen words in various feature films and TV shows, such as Zoolander, Election, Oz, Third Watch, 100 Center Street, Last Days of Disco, Basketball Diaries, Spin City, and Law & Order Special Victims Unit. I was one of the prison queens in Oz, if anyone knows Oz. It's one of those late-night, naughty prison dramas. My novel, The Beast of Electric Drive, all of these three are available for sale if anybody wants, but there's one copy of each. The Beast of Electric Drive, it's a prequel to the other 5 titles, and therefore it's a good place to start. From Hollywood mansions to South Central motels, havoc and love are wrought across a mythic LA through the creations of games designer Jamie. A unique explosion of glamour and beauty, horror and enchantment, celebrating the magic of creativity itself. My novel, The Imagination Thief, is about a web of secrets triggered by the stealing and copying of people's imaginations and memories. The magic that can be conjured by images of people, the split between beauty and happiness, and the allure of power. Then finally, there's 4 novellas, The Platinum Raven, The Host in the Attic, Apricot Eyes, and Hallucination in Hong Kong. They're published as separate ebooks, but also as a single paperback. Hunting as a pack, these 4 delve deep into the beauty, darkness, and mirth of this predicament called life, where we seem to have been dropped without sufficient consultation ahead of time. And finally, all titles are also available in audiobook format and videobook format, performed by me. But this tonight is a work in progress. It's the 7th title. It's the thing from which the following reading is taken. The Platinum Carnival. It'll be the 7th and last in this suite. In the Platinum Carnival, the labyrinthine splendour of Venice in the winter is the setting for an elemental conflict. 3 colourful hairstylists in a chic salon. I should, by the way, say that there's a lot of hair magic that's practiced in the bits that you don't see. So if you wonder why this passage is going on about hair, that's the reason why. It's actually connected to the power that these characters have. There's an element of camp to this, of course, but it's also standing in for the idea of beauty being transcendent over transcendent over things that need transcending. So yes, 3 colourful hairstylists in a chic salon each discover that their internal capacities for summoning up transcendent beauty in their everyday lives have become externalised into empowered personifications whom they meet in the canal-side alleyways of the city. Sinister and destructive personifications of anti-transcendence then appear too, equally empowered, leading to battle, and to an enormous shadowy carnival whose ethereal darkness electrifies the city and brings these voltages to convulsive conclusion. Across the Campo Santa Margherita, the atmosphere changes, sloping downwards. Though the light from the street lamps and moon and stars remains the same, it's as if the air it shines through weighs dimmer. A surge of bouncy tribes supporters spew into the square out of side streets and alleyways. Dispersing, they spread out, take up individual positions, and start a slow bouncing and a quiet grunting. Their presence gives this whole wide space the feel of a perverted funland populated by oafish meat puppets. Turning away from them in weariness, Scorpio catches sight of himself under the street lamp, reflected in the shop front window beside him. Atop his slender build, his black hair is sleek and lush, hanging down in spikes to his upper chest. A glow shines soft on the curves of his hair, so it flicks from black to white before it falls dead straight like a waterfall to splash off either shoulder. The bouncy tribe's supporters gradually increase the height of their bounces and the volume of their grunts, the latter now emitted in ever closer rhythm, with the constant wheeze of calliope music that Scorpio now recognizes, which is sinking into the square from somewhere out beyond. Those steam whistles have a quality of giant violence and grandeur within their muffled strains, which tells him they must be far in the distance. They would surely have an unholy loudness if one were ever to locate them and dare approach them while they played. A more violent blast of calliope music is blown into the square by a gust of wind. It is technically in tune, yet somehow so deeply off as to feel discordant, with an offness that makes the evening air churn. Scorpio glances down, causing a few soft flames of hair to fall around his face, and doing so, the curves and the arcs of his eyes are opaque, revealing nothing. He turns to his left, looking back across his shoulder and causing those snaky tongues of black to flow and splay around his other shoulder, flying out sleek and shiny soft to his right. Fixed, maniacal grins spread slowly across the bouncing grunters' faces. The down-sweeping curves of Scorpio's hair and the upsweeping arcs of his brows and his eyeshadow emanating across the square imprint horizontal red cut lines across the necks of the bouncing grunters. The grunters' grins vanish as they jerk their hands up to their neck in instinctive search for trickles of blood squeezed out from the cut lines. He sets off in slow motion towards them, long curling sprays of hair, as always falling black on black around his neck and his shoulders, while his face glances sideways, caught in semi-profile, his pale cheekbones slanting in gentle curves outlined sharp against the blackness behind them. The breeze catches spiky wisps of hair, whisks them up to where their outlines coil against the black sky, then lets them drop again, back down to frame his beauty slanting from his eyes in semi-profile, splaying out to right and left from in between the coils. The grunters shuffle towards him from all directions. As if in a sick memory of a bad dream, Scorpio looks at each bouncing grunter in turn, and every one of them is just screaming at him, hard, vicious screaming, as if in extreme close-up straight at his face, all the while flailing their limbs and spurting jets of spittle while their lips dribble too, juiced up with enough nightmare fuel to power this for hour upon day upon week upon month upon year of constant screaming, flailing, screaming. A gentle drift of circles, small and white and clear-edged, flowed crisp against the black background of Scorpio's snaky hair and big dark eyes, like a visual in a black and white manga cell. Ghostly and abstract, some of these land on the hair or on the cotton and are sucked away, white into black. The grunters edge nearer, screaming like slaughtered pigs. Baby Durr's simple flickers up, close ahead of him, screaming too, but in eerie silence, or perhaps at a frequency that Scorpio cannot hear, but that is probably damaging him nonetheless. Down from the black sky, curtains of space billow through the air around Scorpio and flicker bright white. At this, his round-edged head of black hair stands sharp, with a few skinny flames springing out from its edge, around a face whose pale tan is bleached paler, overexposed in the image, so his most lit features, nose and cheekbones, are burnt out white, while the hair on either side falls dark across his chest, curling down to end beside the swelling of his breasts, and his least lit features, his eyes and the slope beneath his softly curved jawline, are filled in with deep shade outlined in black. The simple screams on, out of an empty flickering hole of a face like a single, oval, screeching mouth that Scorpio fears will suck him in. Queasy weak and pained in revulsion, Scorpio flicks his gaze away from the mouth, then further away, while he summons up one last convulsion of effort. Streaks of black and silver whisk sharp through the air around Scorpio, whose streaks of long black hair shine and dance in among them. The streaks circle round him. He raises a dainty hand to brush them away from his face, and they morph into sunbursts of black twirly teardrops. The simple steps forward, gaping that blank oval mouth wide enough to climb into, and a smudge and flash of anger rips through Scorpio in silence, an anger so compressed as to alter him in a way he can feel happening inside him in real time. His face whitens, his movements become fewer and surer, his pupils contract, and something in him flexes, something of reptile and stone. Scorpio returns his gaze to the mouth's silent screech, glinting immaculate with murder in his fingers and cheekbones, wrists and lips, and under the moons at the bases of his delicate fingernails. A charge points up, an unwavering incline from Scorpio's eyes to the simple's mouth, a spike of hatred as straight as a ray. The simple's head jerks back, bursting and sprouting blood and brain and splintered fluid, all confined to two flickering dimensions upon the air. Projected on high across the Campo Santa Margherita, the simple splits open as if to give birth, begetting a skeleton covered in cartilage but no flesh. This projection clatters on jerkily for a few more seconds, then sputters and spools to a halt and falls dark. One by one, the bouncing grunters slink away out of the square into adjoining alleyways and streets, and the atmosphere slopes back upwards. Scorpio sinks to the ground, exhausted. He clenches a pair of fists in his head, which pumps and aches with pressure and growly voices speaking through a hole in the side of his mind. The inside of his skull feels like a curved wall dripping with moisture, where greasy vapour condenses and runs down to form a pool around a blocked plug. Weariness, poison, pressure. He wishes he could erase his memory of the things he's just seen here this evening. Yet he knows that throughout his life they will flicker up in the side of his head from time to time, both in the glare of the daylight and more often in the depths of night. He wishes he were lying in a fresh meadow by himself, in afternoon sunshine. Around him only long grass and meadow flowers, trees in the distance, and nothing to hear but the cheep of birds, the buzz of insects, and the whisper of the wind.